Hey, everybody, welcome to this week's episode of the Bill Squire Show. I am your host, Bill Squire. What a cool name. Anyway, I'm here with my pal, Galina Rivina.
Hi, it's so good to be here.
It's nice to finally have you in the studio. I think you're the second person in. AJ was, Mary was over Zoom. So you're the second in since I got the new table.
Oh, awesome.
So I'm very excited about the new setup here. And you are the first guest to be on since we hit 1,000 subscribers.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you very much. I'm very excited about it. It's one of those things that you work really hard at and beg people to, subscribe. And then you just hope that they start watching as well. Subscribing is one thing, but watching also very nice. But I'm going to play a little video here from my girlfriend that we made in, just in celebration. It's quick. So this will be, and we got AJ over here producing. Say hi, AJ.
Hi, AJ.
You good?
I'm fantastic.
Yeah. All right. So go ahead and pull. You got the video here?
Yeah.
All right. Hey, everybody. I just want to thank you for getting me to 1,000 subscribers on YouTube. It means the world to me. And we're celebrating. Come on in here.
Happy birthday!
And you can go back to me. It's just popping champagne bottles, and my girlfriend was wearing Bill Squire Show stickers over her nipples, which was, a nice thing. And I have Bill Squire Show stickers here for you.
Ooh.
You do not have to put them over your nipples.
Thank you. I saw that post, and I commend you. She's got a great rack.
She's got it going on, and she's not afraid to show it either. And then I made us some coffee. We got some
Thank you.
coffee here with a little bit of
Cheers.
peanut butter whiskey, just a little touch.
It's so good.
And then some French vanilla stuff. Galina is a comedian and podcaster. I did her podcast a couple weeks ago. We talked about dogs for an hour, and it was great. And you're a very funny comedian.
Thank you.
And you live in LA, but you're originally from, you grew up here mostly, but you're originally from Russia.
I'm from Ukraine.
Ukraine. God damn it. I get it wrong every time.
It's okay. You know what? It was all the same when I was born, so.
Yeah.
It's really,
There
we're
you
splitting
go.
hairs.
There you go.
The Soviet bloc.
Oh, you got to let me know because I don't have you live all the time. All right. So you came over when you were a child, and what's the most Russian thing you still do, or Ukrainian, or Eastern European?
Honestly, there's things that culturally my family just never transitioned into being, I guess, more Americanized. And one really good example is anytime they have any kind of family dinner, they don't drink like Americans drink. They pour shots, and then they make excuses to toast so they can drink their shots. It's not like standard American dinner where people will have a cocktail and sip on it. They won't drink it unless someone goes, to your health, to the children's health, and then they have to cheers and take shots. So they will toast, everybody at the table. When they run out of that, they'll be like, to Tesla stock or whatever, and just to do a shot.
GameStop, here we go. Yeah. So no real mixed drinks. It's all.
Oh, it's all shots.
It's all shots.
They don't do cocktails.
So
they
you
don't
get
mess around.
messed up.
Yeah, I don't because I don't drink like that.
Yeah.
Probably because the example's been set for me to not do that. But that is how they do it. They straight up just take shots.
And then, how long do dinners take? And then also, how messed up is everybody by the end of the dinner? How many shots would you say they do during, a typical family dinner like this?
About a dozen.
A dozen? That's
and they sit for hours. I mean,
Yeah.
it's an event.
Mm-hmm. That sounds fun.
It is. And there's a closeness to it that's so authentic and so just, set in good intentions where that's just how they get together. That's how they do it. But I do think it's a cultural thing because I don't really know about any other families that congregate the way we congregate.
Yeah, that's definitely. I mean, I grew up Mormon, so there's no shots at all. It's just long meals, but it's still just awkward silences and just not great. I'm. But you don't go shot for shot with them?
I don't go shot for
And is there
chocolate.
do they
No.
look down on you, or they go, she's just little or something?
They're over it, and I
Yeah.
think that there's some sort of pass that I get because they're just like, oh, she's Californized or whatever. If that's, I'm making up a verb there, but I just don't like getting drunk in general, so I don't go toe-to-toe with them because I can't stand getting drunk, and they've just accepted that about me a long time ago.
Right. I like getting drunk, but I don't like to be like 12 shots drunk. That's too drunk. I like to be buzzed and feeling good.
Yeah.
Like that's a nice, I think one of the last times, not last time, but a couple times when you come to town, we've had Christmas sales together.
Yeah.
And that's like a good drunk.
That's a good drunk, and that's what I do. I have like a drink or two, maybe three. Three is like a wild night for me.
Yeah.
As soon as I can feel myself getting drunk, that's when I stop because it's just not worth losing the following day for me. I got to a point probably at like age 22 or 23 when hangovers just became debilitating, and I was like, I'm out. This is not for me.
Somebody wants you to say vodka like old school Ukrainian Russian style.
They're gonna be disappointed because it's just vodka.
Is vodka not?
That's
Not-
vodka.
Nothing
That's the
else.
Russian way of
Well,
saying
there
it.
you go.
Yeah.
Sorry, Bill can't stick around. Taking my mom to get vaccinated. Oh, that's okay.
Oh,
That's good.
That's a great thing.
AJ's vaccinated.
ah,
And,
mazel.
yeah. So he's killing it. Whose mangy mutt is that? That is my mangy mutt.
Not a mangy mutt at all, but mauling me a little bit.
Yeah, she's just she likes women a lot, and
Hi.
she likes attention a lot, and she's getting groomed today. That's my dog Whoopsie though. So thanks for asking about that. And if you want to call the show, you call 216-302-8783. We can take your calls live. So if you have any questions for us, any questions about the topic, you want to chime in on a topic that we're talking about, you're more than welcome. So again, thanks to everybody getting me to 1,000 followers. Galina's here, and we are going to have a good time. One thing that I love about Galina is you're like a car girl.
Oh, I'm such a car girl.
You're like so into cars, and it's cool. And that's why you also love the Fast and Furious franchise to like almost a sickening degree.
It's half, I do it half ironically as far as how hard I lean into it on social of like constantly propping up and posting about Fast and Furious stuff. But at the same time, I do genuinely love it that much. I know
they're
it's
fun
silly,
movies.
but they're fun movies.
They're very fun movies, and it's not really about the cars in those movies. It's about the quality acting.
It's about the action. It's about the script.
The script and the story and the family. It's all about family, right? What's his name? Dom? Who's your favorite character?
Well, Paul Walker was like my first crush growing up.
What was it that you saw him in that like put him on the map for
The
you?
first Fast and
The
Furious
first
movie.
Fast and Furious. Okay. I
For
didn't know if
sure.
it was Meet the Deedles.
But then, oddly enough, it's like there's so many characters in it that I love that are just random peripheral like Ludacris is in a bunch of the movies, and he's the tech guy. And I'm just like, okay, you know what? Do it, Luda.
I love when people like that are in a movie and they're labeled that and they're very one-note characters. And who does he always kind of spar with?
He always spars with Tyrese's character.
Yeah. So they're always kind of going back and forth. But it's funny because he's like, hey, we need this impossible tech to happen. Can you do that? And he goes, yeah, I can do that. Like he takes like a beat and he thinks they go through his head. Yeah, I got you. I can do that. That's not a problem.
Every time you see anybody hacking in any
Oh my
movie,
God, it's the best.
always like it looks like CAD a little bit for people that studied that, where it's just like a blue
Yeah.
or black screen, and then there's just all these letters and symbols, and somehow like all of a sudden
They're
they've
doing
hacked
all this
into the government.
amazing
and you're like, oh, it's that
code.
easy.
Yeah. And just the fastest typing ever. And like I liked hacking in the 90s where it was always just like, I'm almost in. That was always their like go-to line. It's like, calm down. Tony said that you could totally be a Fast and Furious flag girl.
Oh my God, thank you. Thank you, Tony. That made my day.
One of the things I love about that franchise so much is that it started off as a movie about stealing DVD players.
Yes.
And then evolved into them saving the world again and again. And then sometimes trying to be the ones to destroy the world.
Things
was it-
escalated quickly.
What's the one where, is it 8 or 7 where Dom is like the bad guy? Because he's like programmed or something. 8, yeah.
It's the Fate of the Furious
Yeah.
one. And here's the thing about those, as ridiculous as they are, they pull talent. Like Charlize Theron was in that one.
Yeah. They absolutely do, because it's an easy check and they're fun to make. And, but then also, I don't even want to say it's an easy check, because like the stunts that those guys have to do,
right?
Even though they're not doing all the stunts, there's still a lot of physical strain that these guys put themselves through to, like, it's like professional wrestling almost.
Yeah.
To be in a Fast and Furious movie.
And they've got The Rock in the last handful of movies, so I feel like that's kind of a
Now, how do you feel about Hobbs and Shaw?
I didn't like Hobbs and Shaw. I really wanted to, and I was so excited when it came out. I was like, who's going to go see this with me opening day? Nobody. And then I saw it, and I was like, damn. It's too sci-fi, and it's way more sci-fi than the rest of the movies. Like, they've got people straight turning into robots.
Yeah. Like,
and I'm like, no, not for me.
But it's so cheesy, too. Like, when they're like, well, yeah, you're strong, and I'm strong, and you're good at fighting, and I'm good at fighting. But it turns out, if we really want to be able to defeat this guy, we have to work together. We have to put our differences and our egos aside and work together. Now, do you have a Paul Walker movie besides Fast and Furious that you absolutely love?
I think it's called Brick Mansions or something.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And again, because it's just so, I'm someone that is like such a fan of watching people do impressive physicality things.
Yeah.
And that movie is based...
Was he a robber in that one?
He wasn't a robber. He was a cop, which is funny because he's also a cop in Fast and Furious. Yeah. But his co-star in it is like a professional... oh my God, why am I blanking on the term? Parkour. Okay. He's a parkourist. So the whole movie is just based on his co-star doing all these crazy parkour moves.
Like letting him into the building?
Yeah, letting him into the building. Climbing all of these... it's funny because it could be a political statement if you wanted to look at it that way, because it's about this like neighborhood that's been walled off, Mexico style, where they just like build a wall around it and they're like, we're going to keep this out of the regular neighborhoods. And then it's this Paul Walker and the guy who's doing all the parkour just trying to like save the neighborhood from being destroyed by the big bad government.
Gotcha.
But once again, all about the script, all about the depth of the conversations in that movie.
Well, I mean, he was known as a very talented thespian.
Yes.
He was on his way to making that turn from like action movies into like real serious
Daniel
roles.
Day-Lewis stuff.
Yeah, he's going to start like, he's going to get that cancer role or that one where he plays somebody with like a disability or a gay guy, and then they go, "Oh, now you're a great actor." But no. It's still one like the saddest deaths for sure.
People were calling me and checking on me because they knew how much I loved him. I was getting phone calls being like, "Galina, are you okay?" And I'm like, "No, I have to go sit by the ocean and just stare into it for a few days." It was really upsetting. And then on top of that, I've also never really liked Porsches. So the fact that he died in a Porsche, I was like, damn it.
And what's your go-to, like your favorite car?
I'm really biased because I work for Ferrari and I've been working for them for 7 years.
Right.
So, I love those cars, but that's probably based on how much I know about them versus just being a fan in general. I did get to go to the factory in Italy and watch them get built. And when I tell you, it's just like dozens of Italian people working by hand and like Italian women just stitching leather on the whole floor of the factory, and you're like, whoa, so much goes into these. That's
crazy. Like, it is crazy to think that like there's still things being built that way.
So few of them.
Right.
And that's what makes it so amazing, and like the race history of the company.
Small
and
batch automobiles. Yeah.
Exactly.
Did you see Ford versus Ferrari?
I did.
That was great.
It was, but then I was like conflicted. I'm like, am I sure I'm not supposed to be rooting for Ferrari here? But they did make the factory look really realistic. They were doing scenes when they're over there in Italy and he's at the factory. And I was like, oh, it actually looks like this.
That's cool. I like that attention to detail. I thought it was a really cool movie. And it was, one of those things where, Ferrari was dominating and then Ford had this little flare up in the 60s. And then it went back down. And now Ferrari's, kind of the thing again.
Yeah, although I don't pay too close attention to the races, but I think Mercedes has been doing the
better.
best over the last several years.
I have no idea.
I could also be pulling that out of my ass.
Yeah. What's like a cheaper car that you'd be like, that'd be badass just to have? Something that's like an affordable but sporty car.
Okay, so these
you like sports cars, right?
I do like sports cars. I love the Nissan GTR, but that's also like a 6-figure car, but it's so much more subtle and muted, and only people that really know cars would recognize it and be like, Oh, that
Damn,
car has
yeah.
allure because
Yeah.
it kind of just looks like a Nissan to somebody that wouldn't know better. What's like
That's
a
that
good...
quiet money car where
It's that quiet money car. I mean, I love Audis a lot,
Mm-hmm.
but again, that's not like a necessarily
Not
super
necess-
affordable
yeah,
car.
I'm saying like something that has the look,
Uh-huh.
you know, that something that you could buy for like $30K or less. Is there anything even close to that?
I love Subarus.
Subarus are
I
great.
drove my mom's Subaru here. They're great
WRX.
cars.
Which ones does she have?
She has the Forester.
Okay. The WRX is a badass car.
It is, yeah.
That's
I
like
like their sedans too. I've never owned one of their sedans, but just as a brand in general, I'm a big fan.
I one time was driving a friend's Subaru, and I backed into somebody trying to get out of a parking spot, and somebody like I didn't do any damage, but there are these two guys like looking at me, and they're like, "Hey man, we're not gonna say anything." And I go, they're like, "We won't be witnesses." I'm like, "No," and this is right after the Cavs won the championship, and I go, "No, we're in Cleveland. We're all witnesses." And they go, "Yeah!" And then I just took off, and yeah, it was. But then I found out later you could see some damage, so it's all right. It was like imprint on dust kind of like it wasn't really anything serious.
We've all who hasn't done that?
Oh, it's the worst. How do you feel about Crystalia?
Oh boy, yeah, hitting me with the easy stuff.
Yeah. Were you a fan of his before, like, all this stuff came out?
I would say that his brand of stand-up is not for me, but I was never a person that was ever going to be like, oh, he sucks, because it's like, this is an irrefutably successful man.
Right,
He's
exactly.
making a shit ton of money. He's selling out theaters. Clearly he has fans. Clearly there's something to it. So I was never of the mentality, oh, he's not funny.
Right,
He's
I could
this club
definitely-
comic, blah, blah, blah.
I could definitely watch him and laugh. Like,
Sure.
I never was like, oh, he's absolutely terrible, but he also wasn't anybody that, like, I would seek out or,
Right.
like, be like, oh, I gotta see the new Dalia hour or something like that.
I was in the same camp because it's mostly like physical humor, which I'm like, okay, great. There's space for that. There's a market for that. I personally love word math, so I like people that are more like Jeselnik and Dimitri Martin, people
Right.
that just like have word economy and write just like elegant jokes that stand alone, and you don't need to be doing backflips to make them work.
Right. I'm with you on that. And I also like people with point of view. So, you know, whatever it is, whether they're, you know, black or white or female or whatever it is, if you have point of view and you're going to make me laugh, but also maybe come at me from a different angle that I hadn't thought of, that's something that I absolutely love with comedians.
Yeah,
so
me too.
somebody that may even say something I don't agree with, but it makes me think, it makes me laugh, then I'm all about it. But with Chris, he just posted a video for the first time in about a year.
Yeah.
And you watched it?
I watched it. I
Yeah.
watched it this morning. It was better than I thought it was going to be.
I think he hits a lot of good points. Let's start off. You got it? All right. So this is Crystalia talking about, you know, if you don't know what happened, Crystalia, very successful comedian, was called out for kind of asking girls that were real young, like 18, and then some of them underage, to like hook up and stuff like that. But I give him the benefit of the doubt where I saw the emails, like there was some that were edited to make it look worse than they were.
Yeah.
And then there was some that like he released where like she's like, I'm 16 or I'm 17, and then he just cut off communication. So let's go ahead and listen to him talk here. Oh, that was the wrong thing. Oh, I gotta get it at the beginning.
I know that it's been a really long time since you've heard from me. And when the news broke, I put out a statement that said everything I've done has been legal and consensual, and that's true. And I wanted that statement to speak for itself. And I wanted to talk immediately. I wanted to post online. I wanted to do my podcast, business as usual. But I thought that might not be the best thing. What might be the best thing it would be if I just take this time to be with my family, try and take a long, hard look at myself, and just and do that. And It was a lot. It was hard. I first of all, I do know how it looks with the with all the stuff that's been said and the emails that have been put out there and what the media has been trying to say. And I know it looks bad, and it doesn't show the full scope of what happened. I stand by the fact that all my relationships have been consensual and legal, and that's just it.
I think that's, and I believe him in that. I believe that he was doing these things legally, but there is the power dynamic that comes into play, and that's the
Right.
biggest problem.
Yeah, it goes. I don't think it's fair to feel completely on one end of the other. It's complicated for me, especially
Right.
because
This isn't Cosby. This isn't.
It's right.
This isn't what's his Weinstein. This is a dude that got real famous, who's good looking, that
Who took advantage of what was
yeah.
allowed to him,
that
basically.
in a social media age where girls are coming to you and your DMs and you're able to contact them directly, whereas this is in the 80s or the 70s, nobody even really knows about it.
Right.
It's something that's there's rumors about, but there's not anything tying him to this the way the screenshots of the emails and the messages can be made to look much more damning than they are, but doesn't change the fact that it is a cultural thing that we've overlooked for a long time,
Right.
where people, especially men in positions of fame or power, will use that to advantage and get laid.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's a level of persuasion that comes with it where he could probably sleep with a girl even if she wouldn't have if it wasn't for the circumstances, which that's where the gray area comes in that I bet probably, I'm not going to speak for the women, I have no idea, but I'm sure there's probably some that ended up regretting it, but also like regret is very different and shouldn't be painted in the same as like violent rape.
Right.
So it's not this thing where he's like getting accused of crime, like he said. It's still douchey.
Yes, he's very much a douche, and he cops to that, and he also is very straightforward, and like that's another thing where they're like, "Oh, you're just asking for sex." He's like, "Because that's all I wanted,"
Right.
and he was being very straightforward about that instead of leading them on, being like, "Oh," because there's people that will do that where they'll be like, "Oh, I'll get you on my show, and you can tour with me, or you can do all these different things."
Yeah, it
But he
wasn't the
was-
Weinstein version
right,
of "I'll get you a job."
It wasn't a quid pro quo. It's like, I'm Crystalia, I'm famous. You're a fan of me. If you want to fuck, I'm down.
Right.
And
what's odd is that like it was fairly known, at least like amongst the LA comedy community, where like I don't know him
Right.
personally, but it was known that he was cheating on his significant others because
Yeah.
you would just see him around with the person that you knew was his girlfriend, and then the next weekend you'd see him around with
girls.
someone else,
Yeah.
and you're like, oh, I don't even know you, and I know you're cheating on your woman. It's like
Right.
it was common knowledge.
all right, here's another little segment that I thought was interesting. Got me?
And I was talking to one of my friends who, about this and about the power dynamic and about the familiarity and not having to use that. And I said, why is that behavior not okay? Why is it not okay to sleep with somebody if it's consensual and they want to sleep with you? And he said, it's okay. Well, it is okay. It's okay until it's not.
And that's a big
That's the
line
point.
right there.
Yeah.
And like that's what that's talking about the gray area and how things are perceived. And I thought of this analogy that's similar to hunting. Now there's some people that hate hunting and they say it's never okay. And then there's people that do ethical hunting where they are hunting to
Control a population. of deer.
population. They're trying to use the deer for food and use every part of the deer is try and do it in a healthy and like honorable way. Then there's people like big game hunters that are out there just trying to get like a big buck, and you know,
Right.
and that's impressive too. But then there's like the big game hunters that go to Africa, you know, the Donald Trump Juniors of the world,
Yeah.
where they're going to Africa.
Cecil the lion
Yeah,
thing.
yeah, Cecil the lion, where they're going to, you know, shoot a lion or an elephant or something like that, and they're not doing any of the work. They're showing up there. They have a guide. They're riding around in a Jeep. They're in a conserved, like a basically a
A sanctuary.
sanctuary for
the
the animals where they can't really get out, and they go, oh, there's a lion, we're gonna shoot this lion. And that's, you know, now I get to say I shot a lion.
Yeah.
And I think
an endangered species too.
yes, and that's where I think he crossed over too, where it's like, yes,
Yes.
hunting's okay until it's not.
Yeah, until you're shooting fish in a barrel.
Right. And so, you know, having the honor in it, having the, you know, the cheating isn't a good thing. The and again, like the grooming, I don't know how much of that actually happened. I think
Right.
it was more just like, hey, I'm here, what's up? And he was like very straightforward about that. So I don't know all the details there, but I understand what he's saying by saying it's okay till it's not.
Right. Yeah, because until you're that famous and you have, like he was saying in the video, 50 girls in every city in your DMs, it's like you don't know what you're going to do in that situation until you're presented in that situation. And not to say that what he did was okay, but he wasn't in it and then he was in it. And for someone that is a self-admitted sex addict, as he says later in the video, for someone that's like having to come to terms with their addiction for the first time, having to examine their behavior and ask for help and seek medical help, you don't know till you know. And
Right.
as someone who has a lot of friends in 12-step programs, I don't think it's okay to send people like that into permanent exile forever. I think we have
I
to give
agree.
people a chance to grow and learn and own up to their shit and take accountability.
And I think that's what he did a very good job of in this video, where he's like, okay, yes, I didn't do anything illegal,
Right.
but I was doing things that were wrong.
Yeah, it's
And-
shady shit.
Yeah,
No
it's
one's
shady
denying
shit.
that.
It's douchey shit. It's, you know, not the way you should be acting at a certain point in your life anymore. And I think he takes a pretty good ownership of all that. And hopefully he doesn't get canceled forever. I think it, you know, kind of happened at a time where everyone was out of the loop anyway. So, he, you know, we'll see how people respond to this. But overall, I think it is an addiction. Like
It is,
I went through a phase where when I was like skinny Bill and I was single, I was like able to get like, and they weren't like 18, 19-year-old girls, but there was girls that were always coming at me. And so I always had options, and I didn't have to do a lot of work because they listened to the radio show and they saw me do stand up, and they make things real easy for me. And that was like at a much, much lower level than what he had.
Right.
So I can only imagine how exhilarating that is, especially if you're someone that, you know,
And that's his only vice, because
Yeah.
he's been very public about the fact that he's like never drank or never
Right.
used substances. It's like, well, then everybody's got their vice when you find it, and for him it was sex.
yeah. And when you know, he's a good looking guy, but he's
Is he?
also, but like, is he? Exactly. Like, he's good looking because he's Chris D'Elia. Like,
sure.
people will be like, oh, but like, if you saw,
He's not just like, I see him in line at Target,
Yeah.
and I'm like, oh, swoon.
he's not like a classically handsome guy.
No.
So there's also that aspect of it where, like, for me, being someone that was, you know, kind of a goofy friend zoned, I don't even like to use that term, but like, just like, I didn't know how to talk to women or how to, you know, create a relationship and make it be something that I want. Like, I wanted to turn sexual, but I would not come in being honest. And then when they were just like, no, we're just friends, I'd be like, oh, well, this sucks. So for that to happen to me, where I was able to kind of skip all that stuff, it was crazy to just be like, oh, they just see me and they want to have sex with me, and all I have to do is not mess it up.
Bill,
Yes,
no longer live.
we're no longer
It
live.
just said connection closed
Oh,
by
shit.
server.
Oh,
We're still recording,
okay.
but I mean,
All right, as long as it's still recording.
okay, yeah, because I even looked before I even said it. I looked. It
Yeah.
just said the connection ended. I didn't touch any.
It happens sometimes. It's okay.
What is this, Texas?
Yeah.
All right.
So we'll just keep recording. Could you go in the chat on the video and just tell people that the rest of the video will be posted later?
Yeah.
I'm sure there's not like a million people watching anyway. So yeah, that is tempting, and it's like one of those things where you want to indulge as much as you can, but then it also becomes very empty very fast.
Of course.
And so, and I think it's also hard for women to understand.
Yeah, we don't get hit on like you got. Like, I have not once gotten off of stage after my best sets. There's never a man coming up to me after a show and being like, "That was so hot that you killed like that."
Right, but also you get hit on no matter what.
Sure, just never after the least after doing stand up.
Okay, well that's funny. They're like, oh no, she's powerful and has her own thoughts. Not my type. But I think it's, women always, and I don't want to say you always have options, but there's always people coming, like men are much more forward about that stuff versus women.
My friend Julia Austin has a great joke about it where it should be measured on how many people you have sex with versus how many people you have the option of having sex with.
Yeah, that's that's funny. And then we're going to get back to this next part. AJ, you got me? Yeah. All right. This is him talking about the cheating aspect.
It was going out of control. And I never stopped it. I cheated on most of the girls that I've been with. I cheated on my fiance now. And this is my dream girl. This is the girl that I want to be with for the rest of my life. And even that wouldn't stop what I was doing.
Now, that's an interesting thing because I've been that guy too. I've also been someone that's cheated on people, and people wonder why you do it. And one of the things is it's exciting. And that excitement gets tied up in like your libido, where you're like,
Right.
yeah, I have this girl waiting for me, but it's more exciting to sneak around and do something wrong. And I think that comes from like our Judeo-Christian values in this country, where shame is associated with sex. And so you need to feel some sort of shame to get turned on. And that is, I think, very common amongst sex addicts.
Oh, 1,000%. Because the people that I know who are in like the Sex and Love Addicts Anonymous, just like the sex version of AA, that is part of it for them. It's not about like they're trying to hurt their partner necessarily. It's just
Whoopsie.
Whoopsie. Pulling the cord over here.
That's not okay. Don't chew on that. No. Hey, no.
Anyway.
That's not a toy.
Now I forget what I was. Oh yeah, just that it's not about the hurting the partner. It's about I'm trying to get some kind of gratification from doing something I'm not supposed to do. It's exactly
Right.
what you're saying. And there is shame tied up in it. I don't know anyone that's like proud of the fact that they've cheated.
I mean, it's one of those things where you're not proud, but it's just something that you get such a rush from
Yeah.
that it feels like this is nice.
For
And then
sure.
you also can find a lot of people that will share that, where like, especially among, dudes being dudes, that kind of bullshit, where you can share that excitement and they'll be like, oh man, you're such a dick, but it's cool. Like, in like, it's almost worshipped, especially in, our, like that macho community where it's just like, yeah, you got your girl, you got your guma, whatever it is, all that shit.
And it's, I think, the thrill of the chase, too, of having the
Yes.
conquest of, like, oh, you've got, not only do you have your partner, you can also still go out and get whoever you, like, having a partner doesn't take you out of the game,
Right.
I think is part of it.
It's like, and then you're finding these people that you're manipulating because you're very rarely straight up with them. You're like saying, oh, we have an open relationship, or we have an understanding, or, things are on the rocks right now. And so you're just lying so much, and it's like just deteriorating your soul.
Right.
Because you're so used to lying and like pushing down the shame, or like using the shame as like sexual fuel or something. It really does take a toll on you. And I think in the past year, that's what he's been able to look at the most. So hopefully he gets it together, and he's, people will forgive him for what he's done, and it's he'll have a chance to continue doing what he's doing.
Yeah, some people will, but
There's
unfortunately
always
we
gonna be-
exist in
yeah.
a vacuum of people that are never going to forgive him, the same people that,
Yeah.
are still very anti-Louis that'll like never forgive someone like
Right.
Louis. It's gonna be a permanent thing.
And-
He's never gonna get fully past it. I think he'll
Right.
recoup to an extent, but
Yeah.
we exist currently in this society of people that are in a mob that are just never gonna forgive any infraction.
Right. Yeah, that's true. But I mean, that's just something you have to deal with, and it sucks.
It is, but it sucks that anyone has to deal with that because you look at like our criminal justice system, and unless you commit murder or something of that echelon, you serve a very specific amount of time, and then you can go back to your life.
But
And it's
really,
not like
can
that
you,
in
though?
entertainment.
I mean, if you want to, you really can't go back to your life in the same way because you get institutionalized, and there's still a stigma against you for being an
There's
ex-con.
definitely still a stigma, absolutely, but there should be these like time periods where you're
Well-
held accountable, and then hopefully, if you're rehabilitated or
Mm-hmm.
you're trying or you're working on yourself, whatever it is,
Right. If you're showing effort and
if
growth,
you're showing effort that you can like re-enter society, like
Mm-hmm.
everyone deserves a second chance if it's not something that's so
And also-
unconscionable.
making everything so one note where it's like, well, Louis did this, and that makes him a terrible person.
In some people's eyes, it does.
In some
forever.
people's eyes, it
Yeah.
does. But then you also look at, like, he gave other people a lot of opportunities and did
Mm-hmm.
a lot of very good things for people and created a lot of very thoughtful content, not just funny, but thoughtful.
Right.
And so it's, I think it's more complicated than some people want it to be. Some people want it to be
Mm-hmm. Some people
black
want
and
him
white.
in exile forever.
Yes, and they want, Dalia in exile forever.
Mm-hmm.
They want things to be black and white, and I think that it changes when the mirror gets turned back on them, because I've done things I'm not proud of. I'm sure you've done things you're not proud of.
Absolutely.
And when you're at a level where people are constantly reminding you of those things, when you're trying to move past them and trying to, grow as a person, I think that does a disservice to us as a society to say that we can't forgive people. And we
It
can't,
does.
and we can't show, like, where's your growth?
Right.
Where's your ability to
Shouldn't you be
forgive?
forgiven for
Yes,
what you've done?
exactly. And shouldn't you have the ability to forgive
Mm-hmm.
and also, let somebody move past it? Because as far as I know, this is what we get. We get to be here, and that's it. I don't know what's happening after. I don't know what happened before. There could be other stuff, but for this life, our choices are what they are, and we can't change the things we already did.
Yeah, tell that to the Twitter lynch mob, though.
Oh, but then, yeah. But I think they just have fun doing it.
They have fun doing it, and they would never, as you said, turn the mirror on themselves and
Right.
examine their own mistakes that hopefully they would get forgiven
Like when
for.
they call out somebody that wasn't actually a bad person and they
Right.
had the facts wrong. They're never like, oh, we got this wrong. I'm sorry. I'm going to take a little break and examine my life now.
Yeah,
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much for coming through today, Galina.
of course. Thank you for having me.
Did you have any more controversial opinions? I asked you if you had any.
You did, and I told you the Fast and Furious thing.
Is that it? Anything else? If not, it's okay.
You know, I'll say this. This is like a silly, and I don't know how controversial this is, but in the day and age of Instacart and having a lot of food delivered, I love grocery shopping.
Oh,
and
yeah?
I might be one of the last people left that authentically loves grocery shopping. I don't know why.
No, I
It's
think
just
there's a
like
lot of people
thrill.
that love it.
Okay, good.
I don't get any like Instacart delivered or anything like that. I like going early. Like, so today I was up at 7:30, got the dog out, and then I went to Target at like 8 a.m.
I love
and
Target.
that's the best
Yes.
time to go to like a Target or a grocery store before everybody else is there,
Mm-hmm.
so you can browse. You don't have to like dodge people. You don't even have to worry like about social distancing because no one's in there.
No one's in there, yeah.
It's my favorite.
I love it. I'm glad you love it too. I was feeling like an outcast there.
No, I think it's more prevalent in LA and also like more populated areas
Yeah.
where like I could see, like, I don't like going shopping when it's nuts to butts, but like if I can go early in the day or like the middle of the night when there's nobody there,
Yeah. It's thrilling.
I'm all for it. And you can like kind of zigzag around. You're like, I got to get this, but I forgot this. And you're just all over the place. And you're like, this is almost like getting my steps in for the day. I got 5,000 steps just walking around the grocery store.
Yeah.
It's great. All right. Well, thank you, Galina. You can follow Galina on her social media, Twitter and Instagram at ThumbGalina. And you can check out her podcast and Serious. Is that right?
Podcast and Curious.
Curious. I'm stupid.
It's a play on Fast and Furious.
Podcast and Curious. There you go. Which I've been on, and you had Kelsey Cook on. Who's your latest?
Kelsey was my latest,
Okay.
and because I've been out of town, that's my
Yes.
last episode.
All right, well, check that out. It's very, very funny. And thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time. It happens sometimes. I don't know exactly what happened during, like,
I was just
Yeah, like Cox
all
did yesterday.
I guess we're not going to get to the toilet cam.
no toilet cam indeed.